What's your name? How old are you? And where are you from?
Hi, my name is Julian Grant. I'm 58 years old and I'm from Edinburgh, Scotland, but I live in Phnom Penh, Cambodia.
Amazing. And how did you become an Elvis fan?
I was thinking about that earlier today and I thought, how does anybody become a fan of anything, really, when you think about it, right? But I think I was about 5 years old. So I was about five, and I think it was Teddy Bear. I think my dad was an Elvis fan. My dad was a big fan. And one good thing about my dad being a fan was he was only 16 years older than me. So it wasn't like this old guy who was an Elvis fan. You know, my dad was still kind of cool. And I mentioned the song Teddy Bear. I think I'd heard about Elvis and I'd said Teddy Bear. And he said, "That's Elvis." And I said, "I don't think it's Elvis." He said, "It's Elvis." And I think it was from there. And then he had a really good friend called Joffrey, and his favorite song was "There's Always Me,"
Hmm.
from which is not a hit song. And I just became a fan from then. And I think unlike the US, Elvis, the Wonder of You was number one here.
Mhm.
We had a lot of RCA Camden releases in 1970, 71, 72. And they were kind of like a budget album. And they re-released pretty much, a whole catalog. And there was the I Got Lucky album, Come On Everybody album. They were all songs from movies. Uh, Pretty poor albums. And You'll Never Walk Alone was another album. But there was a real kind of surgence with Elvis. And then by the time that all ended, we were probably a couple of years behind getting That's the Way It Is in Elvis on tour. So it was really, I was, I got into it, but I was kind of cast away on this wave. It was always very current.
Mhm.
Um, that's really cool because Elvis was really big in the UK, still is.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen a lot of things like that, new events and the launch of this like immersive experience or this new event that
Mm,
was just at like the Arches event or the
yeah,
Kid Graceland thing. A lot of things premiere in the UK,
yeah.
of Elvis. So what was it like being in the UK, being in, in that area with Elvis being out, though he never actually toured there or went there, was there what do you think it was about Elvis that captured that nation?
That's a very good question. And when I look back to when I was in my bedroom with my Elvis posters and my collection and stuff, he was part of Americana.
Hmm.
And I look back now and I think that we were the UK. It was in black and white, and America was in Technicolor.
Mm.
And it was just this kind of like far off kind of fantasy that made it all appealing. And at that time, we were listening to a radio station called Radio Luxembourg, and they were like a pirate radio station that were somewhere in the North Sea. And they broadcast, 50s and 60s, American music,
Hmm.
which was just, fantastic. And it was all kind of, you're hearing all this great stuff, and it made you get more and more into the American kind of thing. And Elvis being so American and so patriotic, it all kind of went together. So I didn't feel it as anything strange, but I felt, and if I think now, I think that living living in Scotland at that time was black and white, and Elvis was Technicolor. I used to run the fan club in Scotland. I ran it for about 10 years in Edinburgh. And we used to always, be amazed. We always felt that, Americans didn't appreciate them enough,
Mm.
Well, we always felt like you don't deserve them.
Yeah.
Uh, it's amazing. We seem to be much more protective towards them.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. So running a fan club in Scotland. So what can you tell me about that? What was that like? Did you guys try to take visits to Memphis or anything like that? Or what would you guys do in your fan club?
We had a dance once a month, a disco, a sock hop, whatever you'd call it. But we do that once a month. We were called the Memphis Mafia,
Nice.
and we were formed in 1973. and still going now under a different name.
Mm.
And we held monthly dances, and we also had, in between the monthly dances, we would have something like a 10-pin bowling night. We'd have barbecues, we'd have picnics, we'd have movie nights. At that time, it was really rare if you could get a VHS video of something. Um, so we would show movies, sometimes in terrible quality. And annually, we would have a convention. And it was based on American conventions that my friend had gone to in the States in 1978, the year after I was died. And we took over a big hotel, and we'd have 6 function suites, and we'd run them simultaneously for 12 hours. So one room would be something going on. It would run 12 hours with that sort of theme. The big hall would be all the kind of main events, or somebody that we'd brought over from the States. We brought over Bill Burke, who, we had Todd Slaughter, who ran the UK fan club since 1967. We had Patsy Anderson, who was with Graceland at the time. So they would come and do a talk, and we'd have a concert at the end of the night. Never tribute artists. We just have a band. And movies in one room, maybe concert footage in another room, television shows in another room, quizzes, competitions and stuff, and just 12 hours in the hotel. So we do that once a year. So we were very, very active. And then I used to do a magazine. I can't remember how many pages, but it was quite a lot. So I think the magazine, I tried to do monthly, but it was hard work. So I think it was bi-monthly magazine. And one thing that my good friend Ian, who worked with me in the fan club, we always we share the same opinion, where people say to me, like, even if I'm interviewed on TV in America or something, they'll say, "What's your memory of Elvis?" We don't really have a memory, because it's very much what we do all the time.
Yeah,
it's never ended for me.
mm-hmm.
Since 1970. I think it must be about 1970 I became a fan. It's never ended. It's never a memory. I remember certain things that have happened and done, but Elvis has never been something from the past.
What was it like going to Graceland for the first time?
Blew my mind. I flew to St. Louis.
Oh, nice.
And got picked up in a bus. Trailways, I think it was. Trailways Bus Company. The guy was driving the bus. His name was Art. And I got on the bus. I'd flown with the fan club from the UK, because I was scared to go on my own. I don't know how old I was, like 17 or something like that. I was still young, 18, I can't remember. But anyway, we get to St. Louis, and I'm so excited just to be in America, first of all. And then the heat's different, everything's different. And then I get on the bus, and the guy says something, the driver. And I said, "Where are you from?" He said, "I'm from Memphis." Memphis, you're from Memphis. And I remember thinking it sounded like Elvis, So I talked to him all the way from St. Louis, and he would tell me that, yeah, we see Elvis all the time. Yeah. He lived quite near Audubon Drive. He stayed at the east side of Memphis, and we see Elvis going on his motorbike, and we waved to him, and he waved back. So it was just like there, Elvis, and it blew my mind, right? So we get into Memphis. He takes us to our hotel, which was on Brooks Road, and he said, "Okay, y'all, I'm going to drop you off and pick you up tomorrow." And I said, "No, you got to take me to Graceland now." Yeah. And he said, "No, I can't. You can't go to Graceland now. It's closed and all this sort of stuff." It was nighttime. I don't know what time it was, but it was night. And I said, "Please, you've got to take me. You've got to take me. I've come all this way." And he did. And we drove south, because the house was on the left-hand side. And I just saw it all lit up. Huh. And it just, we just went down, turned around, and went back to the hotel. But just seeing that for the first time, whenever I took my son, he's been several times with me. I made sure that the very first time he saw it was at night, with the gates closed and the house lit up. And that's imprinted in my memory for the rest of my life, that experience. Yeah. Seeing the house for the first time, remembering how small the wall was, how the wall wasn't high, the gates were quite small, and I only kind of knew it from the Live in Memphis album, but that's imprinted forever. The first time.
So I have to ask then to take it down a little bit, but do you remember where you were when you heard that Elvis had passed?
Yeah, it was awful. I'm half Italian, so every school summer we'd go to Italy. So it was my mother, my father, and my grandmother. We were in the house in Italy, and I had a little radio cassette, a little cassette player, and I used to make a top 10 Elvis chart. And I would just write down songs and throw them in a hat, and I'd pull them out, and this would be number 10, and this would be number 9. Bizarre, but I was listening to my top 10, and I was playing number 1, which was For the Millionth and the Last Time. And my dad came in and he said, I've got some really bad news. And I said, what is it? And I thought something had happened to my mother. And they said, Elvis is dead. And there was no like, I don't believe you. There was just seemed to be a silence, I think. There was just silence. My grandmother cried, and my father was visibly shaken. And I didn't know what to say. I picked something up and threw it. And we didn't speak. I can't remember if we embraced or not, but he went to his room and closed the door and played Radio Luxembourg. Tony Prince had a show on for the whole night as news was coming in. And I lay there in the bed listening to it coming through, just playing Elvis songs all night. And then the next morning we went to the largest town and he was on the front page of every newspaper. And then my mother said I ran off somewhere, she heard later, but I don't remember that. And when we went back to Scotland not long after, and she kept me off school for a while. And the school was told not to say anything about Elvis because we had a notice board, a news thing in the classroom, and all the Elvis stuff had to be taken down. So it was like losing a family member.
Yeah.
And even to this day, that's not changed.
Yeah.
It's quite deep rooted.
What is your favorite piece of memorabilia that you have? You have so much, as you were showing me before, like your whole office is filled with Elvis stuff. But what's your most prized Elvis memorabilia?
I really like the tie that I have. I like having a concert scarf, and I like the hat from the Hilton because it's been signed.
Yeah.
There's little things like myself and Mike Freeman broke into the house at Lordale Courts when it was it was abandoned for a while, and we went in and he pushed the door in. I mean, it's a really dodgy area of town. Yeah. It's just not a place that these two boys should be hanging about.
Yeah.
And we went in, and there was guys sitting outside with the brown bags drinking and stuff, and they're kind of like, whoa, and we're like, hey. And we just went in, and he said, this is the house, and we just like pushed the door in.
Yeah.
And what happened was this is way before the renovations or anything. What happened was the floor had popped up.
Oh.
So we ripped a piece of the floor off. Where is it? Where is a bit of the floor? I've got a bit of the floor here. No, it's not up there. Oh, it is up there. Yeah, it's up there. Do you want me to show you?
Sure.
I can pause it. And this isn't because it's valuable. It was just a really fun thing that we did. So this is a bit of the floor.
Oh wow!
I put a bit of plaque on it, and it's got this old stuff on the back, whatever it was. So I mean, Vernon and Gladys and Elvis walked on this. And I mean, there's absolutely no question. I popped up, so I ripped a piece off, and then he ripped a piece off as well. So I love that. I just think it's so unique,
Is that from the living room?
That's from the living room.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's unique. That's something that I don't think anybody else has. That's for sure. So, all right. So my last question now is, what does being an Elvis fan mean to you today?
It's corny and it's cliche, but he's still my best friend after all these years. Never ever let me down. Always been there. People come and go, girlfriends come and go, friends come and go, but Elvis is there. And the older I get, I thought about it the other day because I was listening to the Down in the Jungle Room sessions. So it was the album from Elvis Presley Boulevard that came out in 1976. I didn't like it at all at the time, I remember. But when I listen to it now, I've lived these songs 100 times already, you know. But I didn't understand any of it at the time. And there's Elvis songs for everything.
Yeah.
We're so blessed. We're so blessed to have, whether it be just over 600 songs with all the alternate versions and everything that we've got. And I still listen to things like his Hand in Mine album. There's a song on it called If We Never Meet Again. And every time I hear it, it's just like, my God, you're so good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, his voice, The Girl of My Best Friend, and things like that. Elvis's back album is just so good. And it never disappoints. So that's the joy of it, you know. Um, my closest friends that I have in my life, who have been my closest friends for many years, have come through Elvis.
Mm-hmm.
One of them lives in Cambodia now as well. And, you know, we met through Elvis and we're close through Elvis and we talk about Elvis, you know, and it's just like, we get such a thrill out of it, whether it be a new photograph, whether it be we flew to Bangkok to see the movie because it didn't show it in Cambodia. So we just jumped on a plane and went to see the movie, and it was just like so exciting, you know?
Yeah.
It's just great being an Elvis fan.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Well, Julian, thank you so much for talking to me today. This was
Very
really
welcome.
great and good to get your
Yeah,
perspective. So, thank you so much again.
you're welcome. Nice to chat with you.